Europe. Now then, time to go through the newspapers again. Here with me this morning are the journalist and author Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and the broadcaster and psychotherapist Lucy Beresford. So welcome back to both of you. And we're going to delve inside the papers. We dealt with quite a few of the front pages last hour, didn't we? But Lucy, you wanted to kick off this hour with a reflection on what Sir Mark Rowley, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, was saying yesterday. They're starting a review, basically to try to find out how many bad apples there are in the police force and how you get rid of them. So what's the Mail's focus here?
Well, the most extraordinary element of this story, which I think will have really shocked pretty much everyone who's been following it, is that the head of the Met Police doesn't have the authority to get rid of these so-called bad apples. I wish they wouldn't use that phrase, actually, bad apples, because it makes it sound...
That was my phrase. Apologies. You're right. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Well, you're not the only person to use it. And it has actually been used by quite senior people within the Met, which gives the impression that it is only, one or two, but it isn't. There are hundreds of these people, of these officers, who are still in place, who have either been under caution or who have been investigated for really dubious offences. And what we know from the polling is that trust in the police has absolutely cratered. Only about 46% of women in particular say that they can actually trust the Met Police, and that's a really shameful statistic. Now, Sir Mark Rowley's been in place for 6 months. He's really cracking down on it, and I think this is why he's going public on this extraordinary situation, which is that he alone cannot get rid of the people who are bringing his force into disrepute. So I think he's gone public and challenged Suella Braverman to rewrite the rules so that he's actually got more authority. He's got Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London's backing to do this. It's just one element, one feels, of the way in which the Met Police could be seen to be really addressing this issue. But make no mistake, they are in a very, very poor situation simply because the general public do not trust them to do the job that they're there to do.
Well, that's right. Sir Mark Rowley under a lot of pressure to restore confidence, and clearly from what he said, he's taking it extremely seriously. Let's move on, shall we, to the Times, Yasmin, because you wanted to reflect on President Biden. As the headline here says in the Times, he's accepting an invitation for a state visit to Britain.
Yes, and this, I think, is partly to do with the fact that he's not going to be here for the coronation. I don't think any president has ever been here for the coronation, but then there hasn't been one for a long time. And in a way, this is a tepid story that he will make a state visit once the king has been properly crowned, and that his wife, I think, is going to be here for the coronation. It does occur to me that this kind of vaunted special relationship, I don't understand why the US has such a profound and huge impact on the way we think about the world. The world is changing so fast, and yet there is this curious dependency on the United States. He'll come for a state visit, no need to panic. But there has been this kind of muttering going on for quite a long time about, the US president won't be here, as if that means anything at all, really. As I said, the world is so different from when the Queen was crowned, and somehow our media doesn't reflect that.
That's interesting. Okay, and yes, it'll be interesting to see how much focus there is on the president's absence when it comes to the coronation, or whether that gets rather forgotten with so much else going on. Let's move to The Guardian now, shall we, Lucy? And they are focusing on lobbying by the gambling industry. This is in the wake of the Times launching an investigation into one MP, isn't it?
Yes, this story broke a couple of days ago when the Times, in a way, discovered through the Tory MP Scott Benton that there is a heavy presence within Westminster from the gambling industries in terms of how they lobby and the perks that they give out to MPs. Now, let's be clear, this kind of corporate hospitality happens in all sorts of industries. You only have to go to pretty much any event, sporting, cultural, music, just to see that there are segments of the audience that are geared to corporate hospitality, and that's where relationships are enhanced or sedimented. But the context for this particular story is that, as unedifying as it is to imagine that the MPs are almost colluding with the people who lobby them by encouraging them, as this latest revelation makes clear, to make the tickets, to price the tickets in such a way that they don't have to be declared. So the rule is that you don't have to declare something that you get for under £300. So remarkably, tickets to all sorts of events come in at less than £300. But we have to remember the context of this, in particular around gambling. The government is about to hopefully review its legislation for the first time in 20 years to take into account the way that smartphones have been an absolute game changer in the gambling industry. And what we're discovering is that the British Gambling Council and other gaming companies have been really lobbying hard over the last 2 to 3 years whilst this legislation has been in review. And that makes for extremely uncomfortable reading. And certainly from a clinical perspective, where gambling addiction is such a chronic problem at the moment, and we know that this legislation is so important, it's really unedifying to discover in what way the gambling industry and the Gaming Council in particular have been lobbying MPs. Why would they want to do that rather than to just water down this legislation?
Yes, indeed. And as far as Scott Benton's concerned, there's no suggestion that he's broken any parliamentary rules at this stage. We've literally got 20 seconds. Can we touch on early finish Fridays very briefly, Yasmin?
Yeah, I love this story because, there's a huge demand for labour, and young people in particular, Generation Z, they're being offered early finish Fridays, which is brilliant.
On that note, we must finish. Thank you both.